Welcome to Something to Marvel About, a podcast where we discuss and dissect the Marvel releases. My name's English Dave, and help me try to figure out what my favorite moments of this entire series is my co-host, Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, Dave, an excellent fan?
Andrew, I don't think it's spoilers to say they stuck the landing. That's how I feel. Podcast done. We can leave.
Thank you. Great season.
Here's your flowers. Everything you need. Heated expectations. I feel like that's
amazing.
I mean, we will say more, but I feel like just to get that off the bat, people are wondering, does it stick the landing? Hell yes, it does.
It does. Perfectly.
It does.
10 all over. Maybe 1-9, but
the Ultimates, they told, when Cyclops had that superhero landing, that's the show.
Yeah.
Right? That's the show. It's like, we knew we were good. You guys just noticing it, but we
I feel like if you could, you have to let like the new generation and Gen Z know why we fell in love.
Right.
Exactly. Like that. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. That's just I feel like it's proof. This is also proof when people talk about superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
I don't believe in any whatever fatigue. I just think there's good content and bad content.
Simple. Yeah.
That's what it is. I will accept fatigue when we're getting a constant stream of good content and people don't care.
Yeah.
That's when I accept fatigue.
Exactly. We're not there.
We're not there. This is, this proves that just give us good content. Give it to the creative people that love it with a passion, not just because it's going to make a buck. You do
it well, you make money.
I say this also a great kind of proof of the idea that, weekly viewing isn't bad.
Really?
I understand binging in one go, but sometimes that weekly viewing, the conversation that it builds, the memes, this show brought that back, right?
Because it's so hard with a Netflix show, no offense, you're right, to like discuss everything, because I'm like, okay, that happened episode 4, that happened episode 6, but the finale was crazy, and whereas this, again, you're left with the weight of the action and decisions, at least for a week, right? And then we move on.
And then, we've been in group chats outside of this podcast. We've been in group chats together where we're discussing, like, did you see that part? Did you see that part? What do you think is going to happen next? We have a group of friends who have backgrounds in maybe just the movies or just the animation or both, or even the comics.
Yeah.
Right? So you're like learning things from each other. I feel like we're getting more out of that in the in-between that we would have received if we just binged it all in one go.
Agreed.
And it just makes all that worth it when the landing was chef's kiss. We're here to talk, obviously, X-Men 97, episode 10, season 1 finale, Tolerance is Extinction, part 3. Usually I would go into, let's do, what do you think? Actually, no, let's do it. This episode, we've talked about how we think of the season. We'll go back to that later. But this episode, without spoiling, why did you love it?
Well, I feel like it tied up, the loose ends of the season and of the old show as well. Is this spoiler or non-spoiler? Wait, where are we?
This is non-spoiler, but because
non-spoiler. No, I'll leave like that. Yeah, it had a lot of loose ends, some satisfying ends to certain, delinquents. Some great showcases of power once again, and X-Men is the best soap opera with action that you'll ever find, right? Like the everything. It's the novella aspect to the action to the adventure to the science. They hit the nail on the head, and each on their spheres for me. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, I think this episode, like we said already, stuck the landing in a way that, like I said, bring everything together, not just character narratives, but also showcasing everything. It gave us really good action. Great, by the way, great choice to make the episode longer. That's what you should do for finales. Need to have more oomph. And that when I saw 43 minutes, I was like, yeah, let's do it. 43 minutes, I'm down. And so we had a good balance of character drama and the action. You didn't feel like one was overshadowing the other, because sometimes when you have like the finale, it just becomes all action and we forget the characters along the way. And I think, like any true X-Men storyline gives us, it has this finale that kind of wraps it up in terms of understanding people's perspectives and understanding what the point of the X-Men, you know, in terms of just what to show to show humans the potential of how the best we can be. And sometimes this idea that there's one thing preaching it and saying it, but when you're called to action, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And then, but also understanding that the world isn't necessarily so black and white that you can just go in gung-ho with this idealist views. You have to also understand why people have pain, why people want to inflict pain. And this show does a great job of showing us all perspectives and saying that the answer is meeting up in the middle and understanding each other and understanding points of views and understanding. And I think this whole show has done that, and kind of just closing that line of just understanding. And then also ask the question, what do you do when one party doesn't want to understand? What do you do then? Because that's the real question. You know, that's why I like shows like this. Like I like shows like Star Trek, and for me, I put X-Men under the sci-fi mantle where it asks questions of humanity. It's not saying we have the answers. It's saying you have to always ask the questions. Yeah, and I love that. It was fantastic. All right, let's get into spoilers. So let's talk about Charles and Eric. It opens with them, and we keep cutting back and forth to them. It opens with them, that famous meeting that Eric keeps telling us about at the bar in Germany. But just seeing that moment and just seeing their first time together, telling each other, like, I'm a mutant. Oh, and just Eric's reaction to that in that moment. What did you feel of that opening?
They felt like a coming out story, right? It was like, oh, well, yeah, I'm a mutant, and Magneto was kind of like, me too. So, right? So I know that they had like a little,
don't say anything.
A little bond, yeah, like,
Don't
yeah,
say
keep yeah, I don't know, Magneto actually like, yeah, if you're a mutant, don't say it. And Charles was like, I am. So
I can say in my mind.
It was a nice way to just take us all the way back, right? I keep also remembering, even in the whole X-Men lineage, just how like it did kind of start with, and it's on X-Men, with their meeting back then, right? This whole timeline of Brotherhood versus X-Men or leading out to other things really just started with, you know, two mutant buddies back in the day, and realizing that they're not really the same, but at the same time they were like found in similar circumstances in those times, right? Like being outcast. So like they bonded on that, but they really couldn't be any more different, right? But somehow we're forced to see them, I guess, forming this real brotherhood. I just kind of love that about Charles and Magnus or Eric. Their like relationship outside of the fighting, just very much like they probably wouldn't be friends if they met in a bar in normal circumstances, quote unquote, right? But somehow they met on these conditions that actually like forged their rivalry and brotherhood. It's I don't know. I appreciate that they allowed us to see that, and even the whole like waiting through Magneto's mind with the water. I thought it was a really good way to kind of just portray the whole idea of swimming with your thoughts, because I think about that sometimes. Like I swim in my own thoughts. God, literally the visualization of swimming in your thoughts, right? For me.
No, let's go to that. I think I love that moment. Again, we find out that Charles has actually felt he's had no choice, and gets into Magneto's mind, and ends up, you know, he ends up also breaking his psyche, trying to bring that back. Well, again, you understand there's this pull and push for Charles, where it's like, this is my close friend, maybe more. You know, this scene, like you said, is very queer coded, and you know that's also been one of the themes of X-Men as a whole, not just race and gender politics, but also, you know, well, not just race politics, sorry, but also gender politics as well. And some of the movies even kind of touched on that as well, like the coming out story, and just being, again, society seeing you as quote unquote the other.
Yep.
And so, like you said, this scene really kind of pushed down hard on that. Also, later scene that we see, which you talk about later as well, touches on those kind of themes. But what I liked is that this Charles realizing that this is my friend, but also he can destroy everything at the same time. You know,
my toxic friend. That one toxic friend you'll have.
But there's a reason why he's toxic. Like he said to the president in the last episode, you know, this is a man his fears have been proven time and time again. He's not a lunatic. He's not crazy. But I need to kind of tap into his root to see what the problem is. You know, and you talk about the water. I love when Charles says to him about the waves, and he says, there's a line where he says, oh, the tides can drag us under. The tides of the past can drag us under, or it can take us to those who love us.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. It's like it's not getting rid of the tide. It's how do you kind of flow with the tide? Like, do you
exactly.
let it drown you? Or and this whole theme of found family. That's been a theme throughout the whole season. Found family, and put family together. And
So,
you find out that Eric's kind of pain comes from the fact that he can't remember his parents' faces, and that pain has kind of led him. There's a scene you say on the boat where he can't even see his children's faces,
yeah,
because he
Wanda
himself
and Pietro, all the faces are darkened. So,
even Psylocke.
yeah,
I mean, not Psylocke.
P lady.
Polaris.
Thank you, Polaris.
Yeah, Polaris. You know, it's this idea that he feels that everyone has left him. Everyone's left him. He's all alone, and this one thing he hasn't had is family. And I love that. You don't think about that with Magneto, right? Like, what do you think of that whole sequence of just kind of going through that pain and understanding that I don't have family, I'm alone?
I think it's interesting because you're right. Like, I always thought the Brotherhood as like a misfit band he just like wrangled together, but they were mostly like angry people with a common cause, right? Not the same way, Professor X had cultivated this loving embrace of family and students, right? And I think that's also another reason why it was great to see Magneto lead the X-Men beginning of the season, even if just for like a slice of life. It's the guy type of him away from the usual. Like he got what it felt like to be with the family. Like him and Rogue run around. You go and do things straight from. So just going from there to here, I thought that was really deep. How he can't remember his parents' faces. Like he just remembers the boots of the soldiers. Like that's trauma, right? Like severe, deep, embedded trauma that has basically been, built on top of violence and aggression, and now he's just like out like in his older years, he's not gonna, learn new tricks. So I thought it was fantastic that we're able to see Professor X take him through that, right? It's almost like a mental therapy, like in mind therapy. Like just wait
Yeah.
there, let's fix you. But it's very, very deep to be honest, like on the grand scheme of things.
And it speaks to what we talked about last week in terms of Xavier and his power, right? You understand that Xavier could be worse than Magneto.
Oh, see, look, I can't believe you control people. I'm waiting for them to tell us that, by the way, Professor X controls everyone. Like, yeah, that's just the count.
And it's almost about trying to save himself. If I can't save Eric, I need to save Eric to save myself.
Yeah.
He says, we have to save him to save the world. In that aspect of he could have just left him, and also shows how he loves him. He could have just left him, but he's like, I will drown with you.
I will drown with you, yeah.
I will, stay with him. He could have just all right, stopped him, saved the world, peace.
Yeah, threw him to the side, like a pistachio.
Right. But no, he wants to go through this trauma with him, because again, Xavier isn't perfect himself. He's made his mistakes, and I think that's part of the narrative as well, is that family isn't perfect. We're gonna go through shit. We're gonna go through pain, but I'm not gonna leave you.
Yeah.
I know people have left you, but he even says, my ex, we don't look alike.
Yeah.
We're different, but we're all this kind of family together, and that family narrative, spreads out throughout. So I think that's the core thing of the X-Men when it comes to outside of the prejudice and outside of all that narrative, because it has different narratives. No matter what, they're family, right? No matter how they came together, is the family. And speaking of family, we'll come back and forth as well with this Eric story. But Bastion, get more info on him about, he thinks the X-Men, Charles didn't want him. His mom told him, she begged. So you understand part of his pain. You really see the root of it is that his also lack of family. He believing that, well, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You know what? Forget you guys.
Yeah.
Bastion moments. What did you think of Bastion, in fact, in terms of overall this episode, this resolution?
So that was great, like you said. I want to see that, he's a little bit upset that he thinks he was ignored by the X-Men. And going all up on the way till he removed Cable's arm and beat him with that, because that was an exemplary moment. I think Bastion he's impressed me, I'll say, as a villain, right? I think just in terms of
Yes.
sticking to his plan, having a pretty well thought out plan and executed. Um, I even like the final fight because he was really strong, but he's not unbeatable, right? Like there were a lot of things that I enjoyed about it, and I was really telling my wife, like I like a villain who's like not necessarily unstoppable, right? Like Rose giving some good hits, but
That punch.
he was adapted, yeah. Like his face literally went soft. Despite it being metal. I know I'm jumping as well, but I'm doing the
Yeah.
highlights in my brain, like him beating Cable with his arms, him getting beat by Rose, Jubilee with like the sucker disc, taking him down, him thinking the Sentinel was his, and it was beats and forward. I can't believe how much of this episode, like the more I think about it, just because it was such a great way to bring it
Right.
up to fruition, and how even the way Jim described him, right, when he was flying towards asteroid M,
Yeah.
it was like he's the future incarnate. It's like, damn, what does that mean? What, like, okay, how
Oof.
do I beat that? Like, what, give me
Right.
more, like,
Right. And again, I love, those moments where there's so many layers to each moment. Ripping off Cable's arm and beating him with
I
it.
think,
Which, side note, I was kind of disappointed in. It's almost
listen,
pretty
I'm
much
waiting to
sideline
not
Cable.
talk about it. He was just there in the diner, and Kevin was literally sitting in
Just,
the diner, like,
just to be like, I'm over,
like,
I'm
shut up,
done.
bro. But the
Like,
baby
I
thing,
well, whatever. My mom and dad left me again. But I did like the idea that because for those who remember the techno-organic, the arm isn't a robot arm, it's a
yeah,
techno-organic arm. I like the idea that boosted Bastion even more.
yeah,
Visually gets the wings,
yeah,
he changes, and I thought that looked really cool. Because there's so much in this episode. Because again, when he gets stopped by the Phoenix returns. We talked about that. I loved it. But then my thing with the Phoenix, just to kind of stop for a second, is I like the Phoenix, but now it's like the Phoenix just comes Phoenix stuff. Okay, bye. Can't be used again
yeah.
until the next time. Phoenix stuff. What did you think of Phoenix?
Phoenix is literally a get out of jail free card, right? And it's like you never know when you're gonna need it, but just know that like word comes to word, and but when it's just like, yeah, I'm not letting you die. Like this body, there's no way. But I liked it. I liked it especially because my literal favorite part of the entire episode was Signature being DNA'd, like
Oh,
descrambled, like that whole thing. It was just, and he still, I think he's so cocky. Like he was literally playing the game, still talking shit. Like you should
right?
be trying to run or something, and
Yeah.
then
He literally said peacocking won't
yeah,
do any good.
oh my god,
What?
shit. I need another peacock. Well, yeah, Pinnacle actually
Like,
got a little upset. Like, I'm not Meta Galactic,
like,
but you got me a peacock.
like what?
Oh,
You don't know
so
who
no,
I
to see
am.
him, because Sinister has been a villain. Like I just think we're talking about the original show. For 30 years of my
Yeah.
life, Sinister has been an existing villain, right? Or at least not been 20 years of my life. So to see him like just finally defeated was great. But I have a bone to pick. Actually, the first one I laughed because when we asked more what he looked like, Morph that basically looks the same. Like, again, Morph is probably the best comic relief of this series. But why
Yeah,
didn't let him escape? Why? Why did they let him run away?
he runs away. He's going to sit in the corner crying.
I don't feel bad. Say no. You cut off the head. I'm sorry.
I was like that.
Yeah, I'm like sorry. This is so traumatizing me. That's what the guy let escape personally. So that's my only bone to pick. But whatever. We'll get
That's
back to
true.
that. But Phoenix, yeah, thank you so much, Phoenix. Thank you.
Yeah, no. I did like the Phoenix in the sense that it as much as it did seem random, it really wasn't random. We're not surprised you saw Phoenix,
Yeah,
and it also kind of cements the narrative of Maddie and Jean together.
yeah.
Where it's just like it doesn't matter.
So,
Like
yeah,
Nightcrawler says to her previously, doesn't matter if you feel the emotions, doesn't matter if it was real or not,
yeah.
and just accepting that it's the emotions that I feel. And again, we get a lot of acceptance like that. Cable accepts pretty much that this is his mother,
Yeah,
you know, and I love that touching
yeah,
moment when Cyclops and Jean have to leave Cable. And, Cable, there's a lot of things that comic fans will know, so I won't go into certain spoilers in terms of how the episode ends. And if those who don't realize, that's a young Cable.
yeah.
Remember Cable gets sent to the future. And in the comics, I won't go into detail, but in the comics, Scott and Jean end up raising Cable in the future, but they don't tell him that we're Scott Jean, so he doesn't know. And in this present time, he, you understand that he is also feeling the pain of missing family the same way, because he says, I heard stories of all you guys wishing I was there because I was supposed to be. So he too, you have Eric, you have Bastion, you have Cable, these characters who longing for family, and the X-Men realizing that. So I did like that moment of, and Scott, we talk shit about him, rightfully so, when he didn't say goodbye to his baby when he left the room.
He did.
He apologized.
With that tear.
Yeah. He apologized for it this time. He's like, I made the mistake. And that tells you good writing, right? Where they're writing characters who aren't necessarily flawed, but who aren't necessarily perfect, but they have flaws to them. But they address these flaws. Yeah. It's not just writing for writing's sake. What do you think of the whole Summers family dynamic?
You said it perfectly. I think one of the strongest things about X-Men, why I would want my kids to watch it, is that it teaches you to keep going, right? It teaches you to overcome. It teaches you that your path literally does not define you, right? Never ever will I give up on the idea of change. So, yes, it was very nice to see Cyclops come and not be his father, at least say goodbye to his son. And it just like I said it in an earlier podcast, they're my favorite dysfunctional cartoon family. They really are. Like, is that the mother? Is she not the mother? Is that the son? Is this the version of the son? Is this the future son or the current son? Are you raising your son? Are you not telling him you're raising your son? Which one? That was great. And the thing with Jane letting Turbo see Cyclops' real eyes was just super touching. It was the cutest thing that was the hologram or spiritual version of Cyclops with the real Cable, but you could see the similarities in the eyes. I thought that was a very nice touch as well from a thematic standpoint. And honestly, I love them, but they're also worse. There's something I love to watch them, but I would hate to be in that situation, right?
Right.
God forbid. But Cyclops, you're doing an amazing job. Jean, you too. Given the card where you've been given.
I mean, it shows also the power of that relationship that's cemented through the family dynamic. Right? Yes, they're lovers, but it started from a core unit that we're going to go through all this crap.
Yeah.
We're going to go through literal deaths, time travel, parallel universes. But if we can just stick by each other's side as a family unit, we can always go through these things. And this is what Charles is trying to tell Eric, which brings him back. And this is also what I love. We'll get to the fights in a second, but I also love that Cyclops does that with Bastion. It's like we're telling humanity for years, stop fighting the future and embrace it. What did you think of Cyclops kind of trying to get to Bastion's humanity and understanding that, Bastion, your mother lied to you, so you felt like nobody wanted you, so you're lashing out. Here we're telling you, reach out to us. We can help you. What do you think of that?
I think of Naruto talking to Jutsu time. I was like, now is the time for a reason. But also a good reminder of why Cyclops is the leader of the squad, right? At least in Operation Some. Just because the little brother, again, what is that? I kind of love the X-Men, kind of against the Avengers, who we're going to talk about shortly. They're lazy asses sitting in the White House. But the X-Men, they don't necessarily try to fight, right? Like, they want to resolve the problem. I feel like that's always their goal. Like, they're not, mutants aren't there to be flexing the power. They don't want to. So it shows that Cyclops is always thinking okay, how do I resolve the situation? It's not like he's not trying to kill that one. He's trying to resolve the situation, right? So that was nice to see him just again kind of thinking on his feet. And realizing that maybe I can appeal from an emotional standpoint. And again, it's good. I kind of love Bastion's response. He's like, bro, I'd rather die. But he's what are you talking about? Okay, what were you gonna try? We're way too past that. But I mean, nice try, I guess, buddy. But it was nice to see Cyclops attempting. But I think I would have been upset if Bastion was yeah, please forgive me. No. It was just
no, I think also at that moment, I think that most moments also for Cyclops' growth, right? There's a line he says, "Parents are human too; they mess up," and it's one of those realizations that it's a path to maturity and growing up yourself, right? Is understanding that your parents are humans because, and I
You know?
think for him, it's that realization that I'm upset at Charles, I'm mad at Charles, but that's also in part because I expect him to be perfect. And so when he's not
Yeah,
perfect, I think that's for a lot of us, there's this rhetoric like, oh, Charles, you're so
yeah,
stupid. People don't like Charles
they're right.
because we expect him to be perfect. And when we find a flaw, we're like, you're an asshole too.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah,
what I like about Charles as a character, you know, he's almost kind of like that Captain America epitome, right? Where it's like on one face, it can be flawed, looked at as
yeah,
your ignorant idealism. But on the other side is
yeah.
also they are these proponents of no, it's hard to, like I always say, it's hard to uphold the goodness in people, but we have to. We
Yeah,
have to, no matter how hard it is,
yeah.
no matter, and we will make mistakes and
That's it.
stumble along the way. Again, Charles's moves aren't always perfect, but it's like I will die with Magneto to show that there's
Yeah,
goodness in him. And Scott's realizing that we have to reach out for the goodness in humans, and you say there's goodness in you to accept us as well as we accept you.
true.
We have to do the same
But
thing to Bastion. We can't just fight him and punch him every time. I
yeah,
think that's the solution to everything. And if it doesn't work, okay, but that's what makes it tough, right?
yeah,
It's easy just to be like, this person hurt me, fuck, I'm killing them, as opposed to this person hurt me. Okay, why did you hurt me?
yeah,
What's hurting you?
yeah,
And a lot of this
yeah,
comes down to the root cause of family in terms of the positive or negative upbringings you had as a kid, the negative, positive circumstances you had a kid, and you realize that it's rooted in your childhood, very much so,
personally.
good and bad. That's I love the depth of these storylines. Let's go back a bit. After all this talk, Bastion is just like, okay, that's great and all, but humans would rather die than have their children be
So
like
like
you.
what?
What?
It was
The
like
Magneto
wait,
protocols.
yeah.
Talk about the Magneto protocols. They try, they shoot, it fails.
And I guess I kind of get it, right? Because you're like thinking, our lives are in the hands of these people in the sky, wearing costumes, fly around, acting crazy. It's hard to not make that decision. I don't agree because I like the Captain America little, they showed Captain America like kind of, oh, what did he say? It could end up worse, or like this might not go the way that we intend, right? Like he wasn't really with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
plan.
yeah.
So like I like that at least they dropped that breadcrumb. Like that's more of the Steve Rogers we expect. Like, yeah, you want the right thing to be done, but like don't think this is the right thing here. And that's another thing with X-Men I love, which is um the proportionate reaction to things. But like Magneto wasn't wrong, but his actions were wrong. He just messed up the Earth's magnetic field. Come on, please. Like back then maybe he had valid points, but again, his methodology completely wrong. Literally completely wrong. Sinister is just wrong. Sinister is actually wrong. It's people to look at nerds and everything is wrong. But in general, it's just like you see a lot of people like lashing out, like you said, and like whether it's for family or for like loneliness or for grief, because Gambit died, there's a lot of like lashing out. So it's it's another thing that I've always seen in X-Men. I was just like, it's always somebody's volcano reaction to something else that leads to something. And the clearly domino effect that they keep on going. And the whole time the populace is just watching that. Of course, really kind of waiting.
No, I think you're right. You're completely right. Yeah, the Magneto protocols are something that had been teased in the previous one, and it did give us great cameos. Like you talked about Captain America and Iron Man. I think Cap would have been out there. He won't be in the offices discussing politics. He'll leave that to Steve. He'll be out. He'll be discussing through a comm piece.
Yeah.
But he's taking action to try and stop some of these. He's trying to take down some government stuff.
Yeah.
Stop the silo that's going to shoot the
missile. Yeah, directly,
like
right.
Yeah. We see Doctor Strange. I like him doing his surgery. I like the fact that he's doing it through magic because he can't use his hands. Who else again? We get Daredevil. See, all these people that
Daredevil's the only one actually putting in any work. I'm just saying, sorry, because they showed Iron Man like 3 times.
He's with Cloak and Dagger.
Did they do work though? I saw them appear. Like he held with knife. Did they actually do this? Anyways, I don't know because Iron Man is such. Iron Man was just there like. It's like, I mean, but
Yeah.
the nostalgia in me was exploding. I love seeing all the old costumes, old, because I remember the original shows of each of them,
Yeah.
especially the Iron Man one, because they had like the transformation was like a yeah,
Oh yeah,
3D back
3D
at like yeah,
computer.
but back then that was like fantastic. Like, oh my god, it
Oh,
blew my mind back in the day. Like I cannot believe it. Oh, so that
what?
was
It's in
great.
my face. I can touch
Exactly.
it.
And then Peter Parker, right? Peter Parker and MJ.
Yes. Yes.
Because that's a huge one because where we last left him, he hadn't found her yet.
No,
In
no.
the original
Yeah, for
show.
those who don't know,
But
it's
no
well,
spoilers, I guess.
yeah, no spoilers, but it does end on a cliffhanger with Spider-Man and Madam Web
Yeah.
looking for MJ, and that's a great to tell us like, oh, he found her. Oh no, she's a clone too. I don't know.
Wait, and that made me,
Maybe.
yeah, I was like, sorry, they love to go like clone to place your white clothes. What the hell?
You
Um,
never know. But I also like that, and again, like we said about the cameos in the past, this is a great example of cameos being used to showcase the global nature of the X-Men storyline.
yeah,
You always get like, again, because of the nature of the movies and the politics behind the scenes in the past, it's this global thing, but it's like, let's pretend the Avengers don't exist.
they're exactly.
But it's global.
Yeah,
It's like in real life, it'd be affecting everybody. So it shows you
global,
that
but it's
that
all in
things,
Brooklyn. But what if that?
right?
Like, yeah,
you
what?
know, and that the X-Men are very pivotal to the global narrative of
Yeah,
superheroes.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
not just side characters that happen on the side. Spider-Man can have these stories, Avengers can have stories that affect nobody, but the nature of the X-Men, the fact that at the core they're just fighting to be accepted
Yeah.
by humanity. It's like, it's this war on just hating the other, and no matter what they do, humans hate them. But then at the end of the day, humans mess up, and now we have to save you from this
Yeah,
asteroid that you shot up. We have to
exactly.
like, it's like it's very different for them, and so it is a global narrative for them. Um, let's go to some before we get to the ramifications of what happens when the asteroid disappears. Let's go to actually some of the fights. They gave us some amazing fight sequences. Like, wow. The visual of it's not really a fight because Phoenix just says "shut up" to Sinister, but just
Yeah.
untangling everything, the animation of just untangling him and the DNA. She talks about the
Wow.
patchwork of DNA. And it almost explains his outfit a bit more. His outfit feels like that patchwork.
Exactly.
The
You
thread
can see it.
like
Yep.
that. I thought that was a cool visual. But start off Rogue versus Bastion. I think that's one of my number one kind of fights where you understand Rogue's power. Like,
Yep.
yes, you've seen
Yep.
it carry things and things, but that punch, like, I felt that punch, and the way they animated that punch, like,
Yep.
his name was Gambit. Remember it. And then there's later in the fight, she gives the headbutt, brilliant headbutt, and
And then
the
don't
thunderclap.
forget the whole clap. Oh,
Yeah, yes,
the whole clap
yes.
was real good because his jaw was literally like, okay.
But I did like that
Yo, that
also.
was
That fight ends with Roberto accepting his name, and that's part of X-Men narrative. It's like, it's almost like they're coming out story where when she accepts that name, that's a final step in Twilight. The name is Sunspot. He calls himself Sunspot. I thought that was a great kind of moment for him. I wish you saw more on Roberto this season, but I think he's left in a good place where there could be interesting places that you could take him next season. Overall, X-Men versus Bastion. Cyclops. What do you think when he just like rips his mask off, his visor off, shoots at
Cyclops
Bastion?
did some, he put in some work. Yeah, that boy put in some work. I'm impressed with Cyclops fight this season. Not gonna lie, I said it before. I didn't rate Cyclops before this new season. I'm sorry, but after this, I very much do. So the titles I do like randomly actually from X-Men Evolution. It's really like that show. And the episode when they like the women and brother went up with Magneto and they aged to like be older and at the height of their powers. And this Cyclops feels almost a little bit more like that one, like just like and it's a diverse strong fighter, like not just eye beam, but it's almost like simplified Cyclops. Whereas we see this is a guy who has 10 bazooka eyes, but also really super smart. Even like I think he hit a beam off the wall at that field too. Like
Yes.
he was just like so subtle. I was like, I see you, bro. see, I see your moves, son, and I'm a type of fan now. Thinking I didn't care for him before, but they've done the portrayal justice, and that fight was great. And Jubilee too. With, like I said, the talker this guy. I love that I guess I love that with each of the characters. You feel like you've seen their earlier growth, and you see how they have to rise to the challenge now, right? And Bastion is a great
Yeah,
villain to go all out. Like literally, we need your best move. Like please, go try and
yeah,
kill him. Don't hold back, right?
yeah,
So it's nice to see
yeah.
everybody just maybe anything. I guess they kind of learn over the course of the season and life as well. So that was a good fight. Who else?
And
How
it's
did
also a
that
great
one fight
way to,
end? Yeah.
well, no, because that's when he's the Trojan
The
horse.
personal.
This is my family. Stuffed it. The
That was
Greeks
so
did
funny.
love did love
uh,
horses and irony. I love that line. Great line. Because again, it shows you that again, while they're having that fight, Bastion says to the X-Men, "Oh, you call this a family?" And like you said, everyone had their time to shine, but they were still working as a team.
yeah,
You know, as strong as Bastion is, he's getting hit from all sides.
yeah,
Nightcrawler's teleporting
yeah.
now.
Ooh,
You
Nightcrawler.
know, like you know, like you can't he can't focus on one because once focus on one, another one's coming out of nowhere. Boom! Everyone knows
So I
what to
think
do.
that, yeah,
Even even when there's certain members of the team missing, everybody still knows their role in kind
yep,
of taking this fight to you.
yep,
And you're thinking, you call yourself a family. This is my family. No, even my family. Our family's got your family.
yeah,
Boom. You know. Though I did like Bastion, like his just anger, just frustration, trying to lift the Sentinel
yeah.
up foot. You know, you can see he's putting everything into it, but that's just all the frustrations trying to manifest because
But,
he goes from calling the X-Men and mutants you, but then his frustration leads to saying us.
no, I think
You
that's
know,
yeah,
the fight, you know,
yeah,
when he mentions they would rather die than have kids like us.
yeah.
And then that's when you
That's
realize
true.
he's been living in his own personal shame. He says, I wasn't asked to be born this way. And we get that, right? A lot of times if you're born of a certain gender or if you're born of a certain color or however you end up feeling, society will sometimes tell you that's wrong,
But
that's bad, that's the lesser. And so he feels that about himself, you know, through his mother, you know, because Charles tells us the mother slammed the door when she heard the word mutant.
yeah,
So, and then on top of that, not just his mother, but on top of that, he is offspring of Master Mold, you know, who's like the
yeah.
ultimate,
By the way,
just to remember, just remind us, you know,
not even his
like
fault. Literally, it's like genetically nano implanted.
on every way to hate mutants, so which means hating self, but also because you remember in the original series, Master Mold's ultimate plan, he realized mutants are humans, so we need to turn humans into robots. So that's why it makes sense of Bastion's plan, turning them into robots, you know, because he realized I can't just kill mutants because humans are mutants, so they'll eventually become mutants. So let's just turn, you know. So you understand what's going through his mind too. And like you said, I think the comic version of Bastion and the story Operation Zero Tolerance story, as much as the comic version had more time to tell the story, Bastion wasn't a good character. Bastion was just like, eh.
Yeah.
And they did a fantastic job. Like you said, I think Bastion's now one of my top Marvel villains.
Yeah.
Just because of his backstory and understanding his motivation. I like a villain who you understand the motivation of.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get me wrong, I like some villains who are just villains.
Yeah.
But when you give me good motivation behind them,
yeah,
I'm just like, I understand him. Like Magneto, we love Magneto. But I think Bastion's on a whole other level, and it shows you like the levels of what Magneto could get to if he didn't have love behind him.
Yeah.
Bastion didn't have love. Okay, let's go to the future. Actually, no, before we go to the future, the X-Men disappear. And we get a few points. You know, time has passed. And you get a sense that, oh, once again, humanity's like, oh, X-Men, thank you, we love you. Oh, no. You know, like, you know, like we're in this situation because of you humans. Now you're happy. You're going to probably forget again because how many times they have to save you for us to love you? Whatever. But as always, there's still some frustration in the politics side and the background. You actually hear that Creed, who is in the original story, Grayson Creed, he is not only Sabretooth's son, he's also self-hating the fact that his father is a mutant.
Yep.
And he was, I think, one of the original founders of the Friends of Humanity.
Right.
And he is running for president. I think they're doing like a Trump style kind of thing.
No, big.
Forge is given up on the missing X-Men. They're either missing or presumed dead, and he's trying to see whoever's left who can create a new team. And we know in the comics he does create a team called X Factor, I believe, and so it's almost related to that. But Bishop arrives.
Called it. I remember calling
Bishop.
that. I literally knew it was a team, and it's just right at the end. Like, I just walked
Bishop's
through
like,
then too. Like, sir, don't. I know it's the fictional story, but I'm always like, don't act like you haven't been missing for ages. Doing up all cool. But excited to see him though.
yes, and let's Forge know, because again, Forge is a smart genius, but he can only create what he can think, and if he's not thinking about it, he's searching for the X-Men by location. He's not thinking, oh, I should search for him via time.
Yeah.
Because we know, if you watch the original cartoons, you understand that Forge is the person who created the time machine that sends Bishop through time in the first place. He just probably needed the idea to think, let me look through time.
Yeah.
He probably didn't think about that. So this is probably the beginnings of that. And speaking of time, we'll talk about the first one. Group of X-Men, the main group, is sent to Egypt 3000 BC, where they save a mutant from being harmed.
Should have let him die. Dear. Should have let him die. Should have just left him.
Is this how we knew we'd see Apocalypse at some point? Is this how you expected to see him?
No, not at all. They got me there. I was expecting, pre-BC Apocalypse, right? not the Jesus Christ era version. I thought we were getting the real current baddie, but again, it's always cool because I remember I didn't like the movie, the Apocalypse movie. I didn't hate it. Whatever. I don't care if people's thoughts were. I didn't hate it. It was just kind of, I watched it and the moment I was like, oh Lord, and then that was it, right? So my boy, I like the story, and I like that we're gonna delve more into that because I think it's a great story. He's the first mutant, right? Again, if they're dealing with this kind of oppression now, what has he dealt with over the decades and centuries? And that would be cool to see, and how he went from there to here, especially with this how creative team. So yeah, when I saw him, I was just like, oh God, like Sinister just there. Like, come on.
And it always puts you in a situation. Again, part of the X-Men narrative is like, it's one thing fighting, but when you ask the moral questions, how do you react? And part of this, and again, I'm assuming, because he's not Apocalypse at this point. He's Ensabanor. So at this point, how do you, if he is, maybe at this point he's still quote unquote a good person, or at least not evil, but knowing this person will become evil, do you stop them now and kill him? It's that age-old question. Do you go back and kill Hitler as a baby? It's like, it's that, like in Avengers, when they talk about Thanos as a baby.
Yeah. Well, but really, like, I feel like Magneto would be like, oh, kill him. And Presto would be like, no. Yeah. That could be a whole story element. It could be, other bad in the past. Magneto's like, you crazy? Like, you could have nothing.
Right.
I'll kill this dude right now.
Exactly. Like we could take him out right now before he becomes all powerful. Let's do it. And in the future, 3960 AD, the far future, we see Scott and Gina take the future, where we see a young Nathan. All right, they are greeted by Mother Ascani, and for those who don't know, all I'll say is Rachel. It's interesting, knowing what I know, where this might be going. It makes me excited to see the potential of this. Again, all I'll say is it does continue the Summers narrative. Yeah, we see more of why the Summers family is important, and why this, outside of the X-Men, there's a whole Summers story. You can have it literally a whole TV show just based on the Summers narrative. But also, present day, we get it more. Present day, we get the Apocalypse that we do know and love. Like you said, after the Ashes, Apocalypse, once people, he comes out, so you're talking about it, and he picks up one of Gambit's cards. Dun, dun, dun. What does that mean?
I commend it. I'm impressed that they're dealing with some topics. I'm so excited to see them being brought to the screen, right? Because I love the visual of Gambit as death. That's visual. I both hate and love when we have this trope of, big guy go bad guy. The reason I love it is just because usually they fight all out. You know, when they're a big guy, they're always like, oh, trying to stay, protect.
Yeah.
Also, when they're on the bad team, it's always like just all out, guns in the air, guns blazing, let's go.
You will
So
see my
yeah,
full
Apocalypse, he's a great. I'm probably a great villain. Thing is that, hey, I don't want to see people on the screen, right? Apocalypse, I like
power.
just like, but I want to see him a little bit. I want almost
Yeah.
like in a Thanos kind of way, where it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I want to see your presence. Like you command the thing, and I enjoy your I enjoy your nonsense. So I'm excited to see that we're delving fully into Apocalypse early next season. They told us that certain day I future past. These are future past by
Also, we don't know where Logan
and
and
Aurora.
Aurora are. We also don't know where Jubilee and Roberto are.
All the time it said AWOL. Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So she fell off and he caught her, right? So they're
Yes, yes.
in the same time, they're present day basically, right? But they're just gone.
And
Even that way, what else left you on it? Iceman, I saw his name somewhere on that list.
Yes, yes.
So he's gonna pop in maybe next season.
He could pop in next season. There's a couple of available mutants on that list that could pop in. I think even Colossus is on that list as well. What was I going to say? But also, we don't know who or what was the cause for them being sent through time.
You know, my
question. Was it?
Yeah.
Who's doing it? You know, is it a good person? Is it a bad person? We don't know. The who and the why they've been sent through time. Logan is out, you know, he's sidelined for pretty much this episode, which I liked. You know, he just went through a traumatic ordeal physically. There's no way that suddenly, you know, he's just. I know his healing is great, but it's still going to take some time. But it gives some interesting moments. 2 moments. One where Scott realized, you know, he says to him, "Don't you die? You'll break her heart." Something along those lines. So understanding that, you know, that Jean also has feelings for Logan, you know, and I thought that was a nice moment. And then we get a moment with Morph through the guise of Jean saying "I love you," and again that moment is very layered. And Bo DeMaio, the showrunner, actually admitted, like, no, that was Morph professing their love for Logan. What do you think of Logan this episode and things are happening around him?
I love the thing I saw on Twitter. The little Morph loves Logan. Logan loves Jean. Jean loves Scott. Scott loves Madeline. Madeline's dead.
Madeline, who used to be Jean.
Yeah, he was Jean still, just not actually Jean, but he is now, but not. So yeah, it was very cheeky touch. So when they did that, I remember hearing Jean say, "I'll be out." Like, oh wait, that's Morph. Wait. Like, you know, you go through the layer of thought of like, yeah, that's a loaded statement. But again, very interesting because, like, what did I say? X-Men says the best soap opera with action, right? Just like, it's always a moment. So I thought that was a great touch, especially with how you see more hanging around Wolverine all season. Not hanging around, but like, you can tell he really does enjoy his company. He really does actually probably love it. Like, and he's always making fun of him being in love with Jean.
But it's also, you know, you go back to the original series, Wolverine was the only one that was like, hey, remember Morph? You know, everyone had written Morph off as dead when the first episode after he killed off, and it was Logan who was upset about that. He was the only one that was upset about that, and I think Morph kind of knew that, and obviously their time together, things like that. And I think it just makes an interesting dynamic of I love you, but you love someone else, and you don't love me, and that continuous a chain that it creates. Again, like you said, it just adds to the soap opera.
So good.
I've been saying this all season, and I think it came to a head this episode. I talked about the animation being epic, also the score. Oh my God. The themes that kind of, you know, when the X-Men are fighting Bastion, the X-Men are saving the world, they're all working together. We get the X-Men theme in orchestral, you know, sounding choir, singing in slow motion. Or when Magneto lives, it's just epic build-up.
Magneto lives will forever be etched in my mind. Like you said, it was excellent. The build-up, the sound, the feeling, like, I definitely got goosebumps. I'm a grown man getting goosebumps from Magneto saying Magneto's days. But I think just with everything that they and we've been through on life, it just felt right. It just whatever we love the X-Men overcome. Like that's why I love the X-Men. Like people may die off, the team may change, it's never the same crew, but like you cannot kill the X-Men. Like that's it, right? More or less. Like they somebody else is gonna come take the mantle if you do. So everything just came together with that orchestral score. I think it living in a lot of people. I remember.
And what I liked about this, the epicness of it all, no one died, right? As far as we know,
right?
Obviously the Earth thinks the mutants died, but no one died. And sometimes season finales tend to do this epic thing of killing someone off to create the emotional stakes or make you feel the stakes as a whole. But I never felt the stakes weren't there because I always felt someone was going to die. When Bastion catches Rogue mid-air, the neck, I was like, oh my God.
I was scared.
I was scared.
Yeah.
Or when Nightcrawler is teleporting everywhere, I just thought he's going to teleport to the wrong place.
No, so they would do that like that. His hand would be in the middle and Nightcrawler would be around the hand and be like too close or some stupid line. Like I was scared.
There's so many moments where I was just scared. Even Jubilee, I was scared for her. I thought, when he calls her, you're gonna hit me with the 4th of July. I did like the comeback. I've heard that. I haven't heard that one before, and I love that because that's also a callback to a lot of fans that used to complain about Jubilee. Oh, she just does fireworks, and not understanding that she's just a child who's going through the stages, and we've seen now her potential. We're seeing, like you mentioned already, we see the beginning of her tapping into that potential. I mean, she gets a nice one on Bastion. Knocks him down.
Messed him up. If you really look at it, other than Rogue, she got in the best hit. Like hands down. Which I think, like I said, is them kind of showing us that like some of these people's powers as far as they've trained them to, right? Like okay, maybe it was 4th of July from your hands, but that's not nothing. Like you can bring up fireworks from your hands.
Right.
That's what it mean. That's the same.
You try getting a fireworks to the face and see what happens.
Yeah, like that's quite dangerous. Like we just lost the we're human heroes, right? But,
right.
Yeah, I love that line, like you said. Like I've heard that one before. Like come on, guys, throw out.
Again, this episode gave us great moments. Like the whole series absolutely stuck the landing and did a fantastic job of setting up for the future, not necessarily teasing us and leaving us hanging, right? It's more of a setup, like, okay, another chapter, close this chapter somewhat, another chapter, but there's possible fallout from this chapter like we see in Apocalypse, in the ashes of Genosha. Where has he been? He's been waiting, and now he's willing to come back out again. Who will be his horseman? We have an idea of who one of them could be. We talked about it already.
We know.
And anything else to add?
Let me just like great teamwork. Everything when morphed into Mr. Fantastic, I got really excited. I really like Mr. Fantastic. I'm a big fan of him. Started with being off-world as well was interesting. Like,
yes, and Pietro.
So many breadcrumbs. Yeah, so many breadcrumbs. I think I've seen it online, and we probably said one of these groups too. That like now I need the entire universe back up. I need the Iron Man show. I need Spider-Man. I need everything.
Right, give us.
I need that.
We need an animated MCU.
Like I think I need like an MCU 97.
But, okay. Okay. You want that era?
I mean, it's just kind of right there now. Like,
right.
Daredevil show, get Dagger, I'll take it all. I'll take everything.
Yeah. Make it period piece set in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. I thought that'd be a good idea. That'd be cool.
Just with modern, just like this, with modern animation, but like those fairy themes, I would watch every single one. Literally.
What do you nerdies think of this series? What do you think of this episode? Do you believe they stuck the landing like we think? Or do you have issues with what they did? Find us on social media at The Nerdie Bunch. This has been the Nerdie Bunch presentation of Something to Marvel About. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, David. I'm like that.
My name's English Dave. And as always, Andrew.
Keep it nerdy.
Peace.